Welcome to Retrobot, the YouTube channel where we feed a friendly space robot a diet of pure nostalgia. I'm Clay, and tonight we are talking about one of my favorite subjects to geek out on. We are talking about Megatron and his lost identity. Yes, that's right. I bet you didn't know that Megatron was a victim of identity theft, but it happened, and we're going to talk all about it. But before we get to that, let's do a little bit of show and tell here. So I got this in, I actually got this in about 2 weeks ago. This is the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, Pit of Judgment. These came out several months ago and then they were not available, so I guess this is a second run. I'm glad that I finally got my hands on the set, and I'm going to be doing a video all about this. I thought about just maybe doing it as a live stream because there's a lot to talk about here, but one way or the other, we're going to talk about this soon, and it's going to be amazing. So we've got that, and then we've also got, we discovered in our local our local Targets, they have restocked the Masters of the Universe Origins Rise of Easel. Yeah, Rise of Easel. That's if something else is holding this, not my hand. See what I did there? Rise of Easel, because an easel holds up a canvas. Anyway, this is the 2-pack that has Skeletor before he was Skeletor and Trapjaw before he was Trapjaw. It's a really cool set, and we are in the Pittsburgh area, but I imagine that if we're seeing them in our Targets, then you should probably check out your Targets to see if they have these, because if you missed them the first time around, these are cool. You might want them. So we've got that, and then we've also got, look at that, this is the G.I. Joe Mobat from 1981, and where did we get this? This was $10 at D&E Collectibles, because of course it was D&E Collectibles. I swear, one of these days we're just gonna have to like work out some kind of a deal, because we're always shouting them out on this show. But it's such a neat store, and it's so much fun to go there. And I didn't go there today, which is unusual for a Friday, because normally that's our thing. We get up Friday and we do some running around, and I go to D&E and spend money that I shouldn't, and then I regret nothing. So, so there we go. That is the Mobat, and we haven't gotten it working yet, but that's a big yet. Okay, I am very confident that I can make that thing move. We will see. So, before we get started with Megatron and his case of identity theft, let's toast everyone in the chat, because it's all for you guys. It is all for you. So let's start out with Rob S. A toast to Rob S. And Ty Guy. Of course, Ty Guy. And a toast to Setsune, who said that he couldn't stay, but you know what? I'm really glad he stopped by anyway, and who knows, maybe he'll be back. We can always hope. A toast to you, Setsune. Of course, a toast to the lovely Colleen. We miss you, Colleen. And a toast to Asher and Michael Spicer. Here's looking at you, Asher. Stay cool. Mike, you know, do your best. I'm kidding. I love you, Mike. And a toast to the Machiavellic. And by the way, I love you too, Machiavellic. I don't want you to feel left out. So, a toast to Machiavellic. And of course, a toast to the lovely and talented Monica, without whom none of this, literally none of this, would be possible. So here's to you, sweetie. And the last toast is for the most important robot in the room, Megatron! No, just kidding, it's Retrobot! Who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight because I filled up his spot with Megatron toys. So, I guess the toast does kind of end up going to Megatron anyway, but, you know. So, that's right, we're talking about Megatron. See, Megatron has kind of a checkered past, and I know, you know, he's a bad guy. Of course he has a checkered past, and yeah, you look at him, and his form is kind of iconic. You know, here we have the second design of the Masters of the Universe. We have the Masterpiece version, and I've just been reminded that we didn't talk about tonight's secret word, which is, whenever I say, then I need to drink. So yes, tanks. So, this is the second Masterpiece Megatron design. The first one, I hate to say that about a Masterpiece figure, but I've got it, and it's kind of bad. It's just kind of bad. Sometime we'll talk about that, but boy, these Masterpiece toys take so long to transform that I'm not sure how to work them into a live stream, because it's literally 45 minutes of fidgeting, and I have to still try and talk through it and you know, comment and be, you know, usually when I'm transforming this, it's just like, there's no other sound other than the sound of, no, that's not the sound. I wish that were the sound. But I love this version. This is possibly the most perfect version of Megatron in his classic gun form, because, I mean, it perfectly captures what at least I think of in my mind when I think of Megatron. You know, you look back at the cartoons, and depending on which animation company was doing the drawing, Megatron's form would waver, but in the minds of the children watching the show, he looked like this. Or actually, you know, he looked, you know, like that, and, you know, he was bigger than life. But the thing that I always loved about Megatron, from a design point, was that he was mostly unadorned. He had a flat chest, flat arms. He didn't have a lot of kibble sticking out in any direction. And yes, the Gen 1 toy, of course, had some really big kibble sticking right out of the front there, which was always a little bit awkward. There was, I saw concept art for that toy that actually had a hinge on that shelf plate that folded it up against the chest, but I guess Takara decided, you know, nobody will notice that. I mean, it's you know, this pelvis thing, and it just kind of sticks out from his lower abdomen. That's not conspicuous at all. I'm amazed, but it's fine. And, you know, when I was a kid, I even thought about, which I'm glad I didn't, but I thought about trying to fix that, and I'm glad I didn't. That wouldn't have ended well. My early kit bashes, in fact, most of the kit bashes that I did for the first 30 years of my life did not turn out as well as I wanted them to. So this I think is a really good representation of the form of Megatron. He's got, you know, he's kind of a boxy design. He's got a lot of right angles on him. He's got the helmet that flares out at the bottom, and he's got a really big gun. And I think that that's what I find captivating about this design, because it's unassuming. He's not hiding anything about who he is. He is simple and powerful. He will blow you away with his gun. He will crush you in his hands. But it's not, oh, look at all the gimmetry and gadgetry, and look at my, I don't have spikes everywhere, or tentacles coming out, or, or anything like that. It's just a simple, really good, well-proportioned, robust shoulders, a solid looking robot form. And it's iconic. You look, if you looked at the silhouette, this is something that I remember Monica talking about when she was in design school, about they were taking classes in character design and talking about how the silhouette of a character is so important. And that a good character design should have a silhouette where you can recognize that character with nothing more than an outline of their shape. And certainly you see that with Optimus Prime. He's got the helmet that has, the little peaks on the side of his head, and then he's got the broad shoulders, and then the smokestacks. He's iconic. Megatron, same thing. You've got the shoulders with the little nubs here, and you've got the cannon that sticks up or out of his back, and then you've got the huge gun on his arm, and it's simple and iconic and recognizable. And that's something, along with a relatively, a pretty, I'm gonna say, bland color scheme. He's got almost no colors. Of course, the original was reflective silver. You just don't get a lot of that these days. But even the metallic gray looks great. And what I love that they've done here is they've got a bunch of different shades of gray on him. He's got the dark gray at his pelvis and on his lower legs, and then a medium gray on the front and with a lot of the details, and then lighter grays on his legs, arms, and his chest. So it keeps him visually interesting, while also throwing in a few subtle pops of red in the arms, and sometimes you would see them in the midsection here. And of course, he has those evil red Decepticon eyes, which that's important. And so you had Megatron, and he looked like this. And through the Gen 1 cartoon, through the and for 2 years, Gen 1 cartoon, Megatron transformed into a gun. It was the 80s. People didn't care so much about stuff like that, but boy, that was a realistic looking gun. It looked great. I mean, I remember I would take, when all the kids in the neighborhood would be running around with toy guns and stuff, I would grab Megatron, because I mean, of course you'd grab Megatron. So it was the era of Intertech water weapons, which a couple years later had to be remolded in bright colors with splashy designs on them, so that they didn't look so much like the very, very realistic gun molds. I kind of wonder if they didn't just use gun molds for those first ones. I think they may have. So you had 2 years of this design. And then we had Transformers the movie. And this is where I think they made a decision that would change Megatron forever. Because in Transformers the movie, of course, they mercilessly killed off most of the toy characters that we owned. You had Prime die. You had countless Autobots die. You had lots of Decepticons that were either killed or turned into a Sweep or a Cyclonus. Yeah, that's also a little bit janky in there. But with Megatron, Megatron didn't die. Megatron turned into Galvatron, and rather than pull out Gen 1 Galvatron, since honestly, you look at the Gen 1 Galvatron toy, and it doesn't really look like Galvatron. I mean, and I know, you know, where the cartoon is not canon, but honestly, that version of Galvatron, especially with Leonard Nimoy's voice, I mean, you know, Leonard Nimoy was a great Galvatron. That was cool. And it looked like this. This is Kingdom Galvatron. And this is probably the best movie-accurate Galvatron toy that we've ever gotten. And this is what we wanted when we bought the toy in Kmart back in 1986. But he looked like this. And here, let me put him on the other camera so that you can get a good view. So here we go. And you see that he's got a bit, you know, he's still got some Megatron characteristics. For one thing, he still doesn't have a whole lot of kibble. You know, it's not, you know, they didn't put spikes all over him or blades or anything. He always had this kind of stick up his butt. And of course he maintained his big shoulder cannon, and that was important. But the rest of him is completely aesthetically different. His color scheme went from muted grays and silvers to purple and gray and orange with some red accents. Of course, he was still voiced by Frank Welker in the TV show, but I don't know what Frank Welker was doing. I have no idea. I mean, Frank Welker, I love you. And this is not meant with disrespect, but I just what the heck were you doing? Yeah, well, let's see. I'm Galvatron. I'm evil. I'm crazy. I realize that is the direction that the show was going at that point, which was kind of in the toilet. But boy, yeah. Oh gosh. I will say though. Now, when I was a kid, I hated the Psychiatrist Planet episode, but I rewatched that not too long ago, and I have to say, as an adult, I can appreciate the humor much better now than I could when I was a kid. It's it's actually pretty amusing. And if I remember correctly, he
Roger.
Thank you. He destroys the planet at the end, which is kind of awesome. So, but the point to be made is that it was still technically Megatron, but it didn't look like Megatron anymore. And this is a point where things diverged because Prime died. Rodimus Prime was not Optimus Prime in a new body. He was a completely different character. He was not meant to be Optimus Prime. And so he could be different.
I still function.
Yes, Megatron still functioned, but now in the upgraded, which I do like this body. Okay, I like this body design. And part of that, of course, is the nostalgia goggles with which I watched the 1986 Transformers movie. And you know what? I can still watch that movie and love every bit of it. It's not deep, but it's just fun. And the animation, for the most part, is actually really good. They saved the in-between shots for the crappy animation companies, but the iconic parts, the keyframes were done by the people who actually knew how to draw Transformers, and it was awesome. So So, Machiavellic says, Clay trying to separate his love for Frank Welker from his distaste for the show direction is like watching someone who hates peanuts but loves peanut butter explain himself. You know, you're quite right. And by the way, when I was a kid, I loved peanut butter, but I didn't like nuts in my candy, and I didn't really eat peanuts. So, a toast to Machiavellic for casting a light on my internal struggles, both now and back when I was a kid and, you know, had to justify liking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. To you, Machiavellic. So, Transformers goes on, and it kind of gets run into the ground. Oh wait, before we go there, should I show the transform on him to show? Yeah, let's do that. I'm not gonna show the transform on the Masterpiece version because we do not have that much time. But I will show the transform on this guy because it's really interesting. What they've done here is they've actually managed to make his transform not just a robot lying down, which is cool for him because let's face it, he's, you know, the whole, okay, look, he's got little treads, he lies down and you put the cannon in his head and then, you know, boom, it's Galvatron in his cannon mode. But that's not what they did here. So you take the stuff off, you know, take off the gun, take apart the gun. This one comes with a matrix, which, by the way, I'm just going to point out that the matrix also comes off of here. They just have a 5mm peg and the matrix, which technically means that he could also wear his gun on the end of that, and then let's see, can he then do that? Yeah, he could do that. Okay, so, you know, if he's really like showing off the matrix that he's got, he can. Okay, so I won't do that anymore. So you take that stuff off, and then with this guy, like I said, he's interesting. We're gonna start by pulling the shoulders out. And see, this is better to see on the back. You see how there's this double joint thing here that does this. So his arms are out on these pieces. And we can go ahead and flip in the wrists, which don't flip in. Let's see, you're going to turn them that way and then flip them just 90 degrees. They don't like do the full 180 like a lot of Transformer wrists. And we're going to do the same on that side. And then we're going to just flip the arms up here. There's a little post right here that pegs into that little slot right there on the shoulder. And that gives you alignment, which is really important because there's so many points of articulation on this toy that without these little alignment pegs, it would be very difficult to know what's right and what's not. So we'll do that on that side. And then we can just take the treads, which are also on this little two-hinged linkage, which is actually sort of, it's more than two hinges because it's got a little bit of a pivot here, a hinge here, and a pivot there. And so we're going to pull it back like that. And then it's even got a little bit of a tilt that way, which is important when he's in his alt mode. And then we do that on that side. And we can just kind of twist those off to the side like that. So now we're going to take the back and we can take this stick thing that sticks up behind him and just kind of move that back to there and just get that out of the way. And now this is where things, for me, always get a little bit tricky because it oftentimes doesn't feel like it wants to do something. And these parts in mine are a little bit sticky. So you're gonna tip his body forward, which actually it might be better for us to let's see. We can, whoops, nope, we don't do that. Let's tip the body forward just a little bit, and I'm gonna get the arms out of the way so that you can see it. and then you're going to open the back up, and then you're going to pivot. See how the chest is connected to the head, and that's unexpected. Yeah, it just doesn't work the way that I expect it to, but you take the whole thing, and then the head goes into the body here, and then this closes, and now this chest panel will close like that, and then that snaps shut like that. And so this is, you know, at this point, we are really diverging a lot from the, you know, any other Galvatrons that we have seen from the Transformers line. And then we're going to, this is going to be, let's see, this is, I always get a little bit confused here. So we need to focus on the legs. We're going to ignore the upper part of the body for now. We're going to open up these little panels on his legs, and we're going to just pull those out away from the backs of the legs. We're going to flip in these little heel pieces right here. Those go just like that. And then we're going to take the legs, and you can see that there's actually a lot happening in the legs, where we take the leg like this, we pull out this piece, and then we do the same on the other side. So we're going to pull that out, pull that out, and then now at this point, we're gonna, this, like I said, it's a little bit janky. So we're gonna take the legs forward, and we're gonna rotate them at the thighs like this. And what we want to do is we want to get the insides of the legs to face each other, and we're also going to pull them back this way so that they can go together, and we're going to make all of these pieces match up like that and like that. And this is going to make the back support of the cannon. And then those little panels that were on the legs, we can snap down like this, and like that, if it will. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can kill your brother. I forget what movie that was, but it was advertised on Channel 53 when I was a kid, and that was the clip. And it was like Chuck Norris, and they're focusing in on his face, and it's like, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I kill my brother? I don't know what movie it was, but it sounded very serious. It was very, very serious. So at this point, now in the instructions, these go like this. So I'm going to leave it like that, but we won't leave it that way permanently because it kind of sucks. So now what we need to do is actually, we're going to take the legs back this way, and here's what we have to do. The whole pelvis, the hips, let me swing the arms up so you can see what's happening here. The hips go like this, and then you have this back panel that's going to meet up here. So we'll get the arms out of the way and pivot this more this way, and then everything's going to rotate around, and that's what gives you the body of the cannon. And you see how cleverly they did that. It's a little bit of a mess because unlike a lot of Transformers toys where it's like, okay, I'm going to transform the arms into this part, and then I'm going to transform the legs, and then I'm just going to move some stuff around, and you can go body part by body part. With him, you kind of have to get everything to form around the other parts all in tandem to get him to take his final shape. And then these, there's these little panels, so you can't forget about these little panels on the hips. And see, that's another thing that is kind of an integral part of a Megatron design, is that he's always got these hip panels. You look, well, I'll point that out once I'm done because I don't want to get sidetracked here, which is easy for me. So you have these little hip panels, and we're just going to swing them out like this, and swing this one out like that. So they're going to do this, and then we're going to take those linkage pieces that the shoulders were attached to. We're going to bring them down around the body of the cannon. And now these hip pieces, they have this little rectangular slot right here. And those are going to tab into this little notch right here on the shoulder. And that's going to give you alignment, which is, once again, really important for this toy. Because a lot of the positions of stuff just don't, they aren't obvious. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. And we're going to turn that around there. And there we go. And see, that's going to keep the shoulders in their position right where they're supposed to go. And now you can adjust the arms the way that they're supposed to be, and you just kind of make sure that the cannon is facing forward. And that is the body of the cannon. And then we can take the back of the arm cannon and we can just put it right there like that. And we can take the barrel and stick it in the end. And then they even made it so that the chain around his neck can stay here. And they have a little notch right in the front here. And the bottom of the chain will just peg into that little slot. And boom, you have him in his tank mode, or in his cannon mode. Which, let me go ahead and show this on the other camera. And maybe. Okay, I need a bigger platform. So, oh, did I say it? Oh, darn it! I said it! I said tanks! I don't even remember how I said tanks. Oh, tank parts? Tank mode? Did I say tank mode? It's a cannon! Why did I say tank mode? Oh well. Thanks for letting me know. That was a double size, just so that you know. That was a double size. So here he is in his cannon mode. And let's slide things back so that you can see this. And this is not a great looking alt mode. I'm just going to say it, for as good as the robot mode is, his alt mode just looks like a pile of pieces. And while I really like the transform, I like the sequence, and I like the way that they problem solved it, I like the moves that they put into it, why is it that they couldn't do anything with the arms here to make it look a little bit less like robot arms that are just folded up at the elbow? Why is it that all of these parts back here are so segmented and they don't really look like a single unified piece? It's, they go together, but they don't go together smoothly. It doesn't look like a single cohesive form. It looks like a jumble of parts, and this just looks terrible. This coming straight down and then the little back thing. I don't like that at all. But fortunately, you don't have to leave it like that. Let me adjust the camera. So this is what I've seen a lot of people do, and it also gives you the ability to elevate the cannon barrel, and that really helps a lot. Just that simple, making this at an angle here. Now, granted, in the back, you just have sort of this gap here, which I don't like. I kind of wish that there's something filling that in. That's minor, but it really does help a lot. And I do like that, he's got a very definitive barrel here. It doesn't look like robot body. It looks like mechanical cannon barrel. But then you look at him from the front, and you see how these things just kind of come down and they're floating in air. They're not attached to anything. They don't fold in. They're just there. And and in some ways, they're kind of interesting looking, but at the same time, it's just another thing that adds to the lack of this alt mode looking like if I saw this just sitting there, I would immediately think, oh, that's going to transform into a robot and step on me. Like I wouldn't walk past this and think, what an interesting cannon design. It's completely inert, but wow, that's it's very obviously a robot that, or at least something that is made up of a lot of pieces that don't look like they fit together well. So, yeah, as much as the sad thing is that I feel like this is the best version of Galvatron that they have produced. But the alt mode it's so cool in so many ways, but just not quite there. Just not quite there. Rob S says, if they eventually do a masterpiece Galvatron, I'm sure they'll find a way to fix these issues, but it'll cost $900. And you know what, Rob? You are absolutely right. That is exactly what's going to happen. And then I'm going to have to squint my eyes and buy the knockoff version because I'm not going to pay the $900. And I'll feel bad for it, but not enough to pay the $900. So, a toast to Rob for his keen insights into the reality of Transformers.
Do what you want, because a pirate is free. You are a pirate. You're a pirate indeed. Being a pirate is a wretched thing. Do what you want, because a pirate is free.
You are a pirate. Wow. So, nonetheless... What? Oh, because I buy the knockoff. Right, got it. Okay, I didn't see why we were getting the pirate song, but I was willing to go with it. So, now, one thing that I will point out is that, notice that we are continuing in Megatron as a weapon. And honestly, going from being a handgun that another character would have to hold to a cannon, I always felt like that was a step up. It made far more sense for the leader of the Decepticons to turn into a cannon than something that it's like, hey, Starscream, the most treacherous Decepticon of all, wield me and shoot my enemies. I trust you. So that was, yeah, there's a lot of things that I like about the concept of Galvatron, and I do like this toy. Don't let my criticisms of the Transform kind of get in the way. But when I see some of the other toys that they've done where they solve these problems beautifully, then it seems like this was done by a different designer with a different aesthetic, and maybe it was somebody that I don't know, because there's a lot going on here. I don't want to say that it's somebody who didn't know how to make Transformers, because this is not easy geometry. I mean, this hurts my brain just to think about. So whoever came up with this was brilliant. But I wish this aesthetically, these pieces fit together more precisely. I wish that we didn't have this shoulder joint and then this lower arm joint and then this other thing. Like if this had a little something in there that kind of made them, filling and gap filling. That's what this toy needs. It needs gap filling. It's got a lot of gaps. So, setting that aside, that is where Megatron's identity starts to diverge. And then, of course, another thing happened in the mid-'80s and going into the '90s was that gun toys were no longer cool. Or at least they weren't cool with parents, and they weren't cool with government agencies, and so we started seeing all sorts of restrictions, and guns had to have orange tips. You couldn't sell a realistic looking handgun toy or any kind of gun toy. It had to have a bright orange tip. And as we were mentioning earlier, this was, you had the Intertech water weapons, which looked like real guns. I mean, you had a couple Uzis, and you were ready to be in a John Woo movie, and be dual wielding, and falling over sideways, and doves would be flying, and it'd be slow motion, and you'd be squirting your friends with these realistic Uzis, and putting in clips. I mean, I am suspicious that they were using real gun molds, because the stuff was just perfect looking. And so then after that, they had to make new Intertech weapons that were molded in bright colors with loud paint schemes, and they looked like Hawaiian shirts applied to Uzis. And then after that, Super Soakers came out, and it's like, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter if your gun looks realistic, because I can shoot you from 75 feet away and drench you, because I've got, I can screw my liter bottle of Coke into my weapon and just hose you down. And then later they had to put restrictors, but that's a different live stream. Probably an outdoor live stream. We haven't had an outdoor live stream, but maybe someday. So then you have the fall of the Gen 1 Transformers series. It went on, 1988, 1989. I think that 1989 was the end of the Gen 1 series. And by that time you had Action Master Megatron, which once again looked like, it was sort of like this, except not nearly as cool. And that gets back to one of the things I was noticing with Galvatron, and one of the hallmarks of a Megatron design. He always had these hip plates. He always had these, plates on his hips. Galvatron always had those things on his hips. And that was another subtle design element of Megatron. And of course, the Action Master tried to kind of. But, they got the other parts kind of looking like him. He didn't even have an arm cannon, though. It wasn't very good. But, no, you don't have to show it. I've shown it on the live stream before. But then you have the end of the Gen 1 series, and you don't see anything until Transformers Generation 2. Which, for the most part, was a lot of re-released Gen 1 toys in obnoxious colors. And I feel like Transformers Generation 2, I'm not going to call it a success. I don't think that it was really successful. I know that in the minds of most people, Transformers Generation 2 people kind of think of it as nothing but repaints. A lot of people, when I talk to them, forget that they ever even did any original toys for the Generation 2 line. And there were some new toys, but when it first started out, it was just straight up the toys that we already had, a lot with contrived sound boxes added, and a lot of bright colors that didn't necessarily improve them. But what we did get was we got this, because of course by that point, having a realistic looking handgun was just not gonna fly. And I'm sure that technically Hasbro could have re-released Gen 1 Megatron with an orange tip and gotten away with it, but they would have arisen the ire of parents groups, and they needed to update Megatron. So you have this. This is Transformers Generation 2 Megatron, the big version. And yeah, it has sound effects because it was the 90s. It was 1992, and everything had to have a sound box. You had the gun here, which had this very neat mechanism. I'm going to show this, and see, it makes noise, and that loads it, and then oh, do I not have a missile? Oh, I don't have my missile in there. I must have lost my missile. What? The other one has the missile. The other one. Oh, it's down here. It's down here. Okay, so no, that's. Oh. Haha! I've got another one. It's good to have two. So wait here. There we go. We'll take the missiles out of that one. There's three in there. And we'll put this back up here. And here we go. And let's just go ahead and show this on the other camera so that we can get everything in here. And oh, you can't see his face. You gotta see his face. So there we go. There is Megatron. And get him into focus. All right, so, and we do kind of need something for him to shoot at. You know, if I just had another figure that I could use. Oh, look at that. It's Jar Jar. Hey, Jar Jar, how you doing, buddy? Misa not wanting to be here. No, Jar Jar, we're glad that you're here. Misa don't like looking down the barrel of a cannon. Misa knows what happens. No, Jar Jar, I don't know what you're talking about. You're kind of getting paranoid delusions. Not paranoia when we know you're going to shoot me. No, that's fine. Stop falling over, Jar Jar. No, Misa wanna fall over. Misa don't want to be here. Okay, so here we go. We've got oh, and Osaka Jack is here. So wait a minute here. Let's give a toast to Osaka Jack. You are just in time, Osaka Jack. Toast to Osaka Jack. All right, so here we go. We've got Megatron, and he's got several missiles in his thing, and we can just do this. It is primed, and then you hit the button. Oh, wait. There, and you see it makes the noise, and then it goes, yeah, and there's, and, oh no, Jar Jar and the missile both fell off the table, but fortunately, I found the missile. So, you see what I did there? So, we'll just stick that right back in there, and yeah, you can hear this. I'm gonna try and, oh, that one's gone. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that demonstration anymore. But, so, this is Gen 2 Megatron. Oh, I missed... Oh, his little gun came off of his arm. Wait, here. So, he's got the little machine gun thing that pegs in on his arm right there. There we go. And here, we'll just put him in front of the side camera. And there he is in all of his green and purple glory. And while this is a very, very different look for Megatron, I actually do like this toy. They have, there are certain elements that they have tried to keep consistent. He's got the metallic grays on the arms and in his body. He's got hip panels molded into the sides, and he's got a big gun, which is important. He's also got a relatively unadorned body. He doesn't have a lot of kibble sticking out. He just has angular shoulders and boxy legs. So he still looks Megatron-y, but very, very different from the original. And that's something that where Optimus Prime Optimus Prime, even Laser Optimus Prime at that period, which was a whole new mold, still had windows in the chest, and he still had a grill for a stomach, and he still had the iconic Optimus Prime head, and he still had big boxy shoulders. They were just bigger and boxier, but he still looked like Optimus Prime. And whereas Megatron, he got a complete upgrade. And I remember the G.I. Joe comics where they introduced Transformers Generation 2. And the first couple issues where they showed the new Generation 2 Megatron body, he looked awesome. I mean, they really played up how menacing he looked and how solid and robust the body was. Also, this toy is big. You know, it's sizable. This will make your Gen 1 Jetfire look scrawny because he's so big. Now, he's also a brick. There is not a lot of articulation here. You've got this joint because of the transform. You can move the arms. He's got an elbow joint, which elbow joints are cool, but you can't twist the head. He is really a brick of a figure, but he's a cool looking brick. You do have to ignore things like the sticker that says Big Stick, which, you know, I feel like that's not really a very well-known Megatron phrase. Or thank you, Megatron. The Eat This Autobots. So, you know, that's it was the 90s. But once again, this is another place where Megatron's identity starts getting pushed away from that iconic Gen 1 form, and, you know, he's mostly because of the head and, you know, the colors of the head and the colors of the body, he does still say, yeah, I'm Megatron, but it's very, very different at this point. So, you know, we saw at this point, Optimus also had several versions. We had Power Master Optimus, which had the base robot being a much more cartoon accurate version of Optimus Prime, and then you had him combining with his trailer to be a more trucky looking Optimus Prime. You know, you had the whole truck face as a chest, but it was still windows and big arms, and then he had double cannons on his shoulders rather than just the single smokestacks, but he still got to look like Optimus Prime. And then you had the Action Master, which just looked like a version of Optimus Prime, you know, kind of a simplified action figure-y version, but that was it. And then you had the Gen 2 version, which was just a re-release of the original version. So it still looked like Optimus Prime, and then you had Laser Prime, which even though it was gray, still maintained a lot of those same design elements. So while Optimus Prime got to continue to look like Optimus Prime, they just kept pushing Megatron further and further away from his original incarnation. So that gets us to the Beast era, and we're not going to go into the whole Beast era because that really wasn't the same Megatron. But I did want to bring out the original Beast Wars Megatron, which I've got right here. Let's just put him in front of the side camera. There he is. And as far as Hasbro was concerned, when they made this toy, the idea was that this was Megatron. Yeah, this was the same Megatron that we're familiar with from the Gen 1 era, and he was fighting the same Optimus Prime. It was the showrunners for the Beast Wars cartoon that decided that they were different characters. So at the time that this toy was created, they were still trying to take cues from that original Megatron. And you can see some of the design inspirations. Like, for example, we've still got a silver Megatron helmet that is similar to his to the Gen 1. It's a little bit of a different shape. It's got this crest in the center that the original did not. Most distinctively, it's got a dark purple face. You know, actually, you know, it's kind of an indigo color. And of course, the beast-like snarl. You know, he's gnashing his teeth rather than just being a stoic. He's Arr! And so that's but he's still got the hip panels. He's mostly gray. They've taken away the fusion cannon, but instead given him a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex head as a giant arm cannon. So, you know, yes, Beast Megatron is very different from Gen 1 Megatron, but you can see the inspiration that went into this figure. And of course, he turns into a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and turn him into a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm going to start by closing the battle mask. And then we're going to... I don't know what's going on over there, but there's stuff happening. We're going to pull... So he's got these wings here. We're going to pull the body away, and then we can flip the head into the body. And then we are going to... We're going to rotate... Actually, the hips pop out, so let's do that. See, just like that. And then we're going to rotate those out of the way. Just like that. And then we are going to rotate the body 90 degrees like this. And tuck in the head like that. And we're going to kind of collapse the arm. So the arm has this neat pincher feature, which is spring-loaded. And it doesn't actually have a fist molded in there, but in the cartoon, they animated it with a fist. So it was more like a weapon than just an appendage. But the toy, it just had this, this pincher thing. There we go. So, yeah, he could do that, which was cool. But we're going to do that. And then we're going to close that the rest of the way. And then we're going to close these little side panels around that pincher jaw to make the back spine going up to the hips of the T-Rex. We're just going to kind of put that together with the shoulder there so that all that lines up. And there we go. And we're going to rotate the waist and keeping the hips out of the way. And then we're going to take the legs and we're going to bend them down like that. Now we can close the wings around the body. And he's kind of fidgety. You know, you notice that I keep having to kind of reset things as I go. He's always been a kind of fidgety, which a lot of the Beast Wars toys, because they were much more shell-formy at that point. There was a lot of kind of maneuvering things to get stuff out of the way. But we're going to close that around the body, if it will let us. Come on, let us, Megatron. You know what? I don't think I was supposed to rotate the waist. I don't think I was supposed to. Note to kids, Do not try this at home. Your T-Rex does not like having spine rotated in this way. And you know what? It's true. So, oh, Osaka Jack said that. Well, a toast to Osaka Jack. Thank you, Osaka Jack. Wise words, sir. So, here, let's go ahead and rotate. Oh, gosh. There's so much going on here. Everything's in the way of everything. So, there we go. Okay, so we'll bend his legs back that way. And now, okay, I think we're back on track. So, there we go. We'll put the arm back together yet again, because third time's a charm. And then we'll close the body around, or close the wings around the body, and close that chest panel, and put his dino claws in here. And see, he's got his little weapons here, which those go like that, and these rotate up like that. And then you can swivel around the legs and flip in the heels and click those in, and boom, he is a dinosaur. Yeah. Yes. I prefer being a T-Rex. Yes. Except that later he decided that beast modes were bad because reasons. It was a plot device. It was important. So there we go. That is Beast Wars Megatron as a Tyrannosaurus. Let me get the feet into a position that'll support him. There we go. And side camera, and look at that. Look at that. He looks great. I mean, that's awesome. And honestly, the idea of Megatron, if you're gonna have Megatron as an animal, T-Rex is the way to go. Absolutely. I 100% agree that Megatron would be a T-Rex. He really couldn't be anything else, except for maybe a dragon. But you look at that, and yeah, this is a toy from 1992? No, 96. And it's still great. You know, by this point, they were making the robot modes well articulated. They had integrated weapons that would fire. He had water that squirts out of his mouth, although that doesn't seem to work anymore, probably because the seals are all dry rotted. It is a little bit old at this point, but he looks great. You look at the detail on the mold and the detail of the skin. He's a good looking dinosaur toy. And he's a good-looking robot toy, even though he doesn't look a lot like Gen 1 Megatron. And of course, as the story would be unrolled, you'd find out that this is not the Megatron of the Gen 1 series. It is a completely different guy from the future. And then he would get subsequent different versions of the toy. You know, he went through his Transmetals 1 mode and then his Transmetals 2 mode, which by that point, you know, he went from being a T-Rex to a robot T-Rex to being a techno-organic red dragon. And that was a pivotal moment for the Beast Wars Megatron, because it seems like once he went dragon, he never went back. But again, that was a different character. Yes, once he went dragon, he never went back. I mean, yeah, that was a completely different character. But it was the Megatron of that series. Now, Optimus Primal likewise diverged greatly until you got Optimal Optimus, and then you had the Beast Machines series, where they had some weird toys. And by the end of the Beast Machines line, we would end up getting this wasn't released until Robots in Disguise. but it was intended for Beast Machines. And if any of you have seen the Beast Machines series, there was that whole part of a number of episodes where there was this giant floating Megatron head in the sky, and I believe that this was sort of intended to be that, or maybe that was intended to be this, but it didn't have spider legs, and it didn't chatter, but you did have this, and you can sort of see the while it moves, the head kind of does stuff, and you can see the legs doing that stuff, and the jaw is supposed to do something, but it's not doing it. But again, this was a different guy. So you get to robots in disguise. And, Osaka Jack says, once you go dragon, you'll never be lagging. Very good. Very good. I appreciate that. So, yes. So, by the end of Beast Machines, I think everybody knew that Transformers needed something new, something fresh, and they decided that they're going to return to their roots, and they're going to go back to robots that turn into vehicles and machines and things like that. And the plan was Transformers Armada, but it wasn't ready yet. So they needed something to fill in the gap, and that's where we got Transformers, what was then called Robots in Disguise, and in Japan known as Car Robots. Now we just call it Car Robots. And the concept for the show was this was Megatron and Optimus Prime from the future going back in time, but to a future Earth. I don't know. But you get Fire Truck Optimus Prime, whose front portion, he had a base robot that would turn into the cab of the truck that only had 2 wheels and then a little roller that was on the back of his gun. That didn't really work. But it was a good-looking fire truck when you had all the pieces together. And that little base robot looked like a futuristic Optimus Prime. It was more swoopy, more organic, but it had 2 big blue kind of trapezoidal shaped window things on the chest, and it had silver abs that were reminiscent of his grill, and of course it had an Optimus Prime looking head. It was more swoopy, it was more futuristic, but it definitively looked like Optimus Prime. But then you had this as Megatron. So let's go ahead and put him on the side camera just so you can appreciate what we've got here. This is Car Robots Megatron, which I guess in Japan was known as Gigatron, and I like that. I am perfectly happy with this guy being Gigatron, because let's face it, at this point, he has much more in common with Beast Wars Megatron than he does with any with Gen 1 Megatron, Gen 2 Megatron, or with Galvatron. He really doesn't even look that much like Beast Wars Megatron, but I guess if I pull out the Joker head, he looks more like the Joker to me. I feel like Megatron transformed into the Joker. They should have gotten Mark Hamill to do the voice, because that would have been awesome. Although, you know what? well, you know, back in Robots in Disguise, that Megatron wasn't all that interesting to me. I don't remember who did the voice. But anyway, we're going to disengage the heels here. And they kind of connect to the brow at the knees. So we're going to disengage them there. And then we're going to pull up this little triangular piece right there. And then we just kind of pull the legs away from the body to get them out of the way. And then you split most of the head. And that's going. And these are on these little ball joint linkage pieces. And so we've got the arms on these little pivoting panels here. You see that right there, and they're gonna swing around and connect to the side of, this is the chest here. And so, and then we've got the arm, which is just going to rotate around like that. And so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You can see how this swings around and connects and just clicks into the chest there. And then once again, we're going to swivel the arm. And then this is where things are kind of crazy. His whole, so you got to get these things out of the way, and I just kind of pull them around there. And then you can take this thing and you can kind of spin it around. But now this whole thing has to spin around, and stuff's going to get in the way. It's going to want to get in the way, so you just have to kind of maneuver things around to try and, there we go. There we go. So you get the lower body to actually go down below where the chest is. And now this is on a hinge here, and that's going to come forward and close just like that. And now we can maneuver the legs around like that to get the lower leg, and then twist and straighten out the leg. And we can do the same on this side, so it's going to be kind of a maneuver with the thigh, twist of the leg, and then do that. And then we've got these little shin things, which the whole thing is, see, you can see from the back here that there's kind of a double piece here, and it's just going to shift forward. So it's going to do that, like that. And that's going to reveal the foot. And there we go. And now we just need to turn these things into kind of shoulder thingies. Just like that. Robest says, you don't have the ears folded. The ears folded. You don't have the ears folded. I don't know which part the ears are. But unless we're talking about these things. Oh, on the dragon. Oh, the dragon. You know, okay. So he's talking about the dragon. Yeah, he does have these things which come out. That makes him even less Megatron-y. I guess I tended not to like to have them out, so I would keep them in. I would put them out when he was in gargoyle mode, but yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, he is supposed to have the little ear thingies popping out. So, but nonetheless, so here we have this. This is the last official Megatron. Oh, the feet have these things that go in like that. So there we have this, and I'm just going to, and I wanted to transform this so that we can just show a side-by-side comparison where even at this point, Gigatron here doesn't even look like Beast Machine's Megatron. you know, he's a dragon, and he has some definite influences, but he's really just a completely different guy. Just a completely different guy. Nonetheless, he was called Megatron, and for kids that whose first exposure to Transformers was Transformers Robots in Disguise, this was the Megatron that they saw. But nonetheless, pretty far away from any previous version of Megatron that we've seen. So yeah, and I keep folding in the ears. Sorry, Rob. So there, the ears are out. He comes with these weapons that are sort of like swords, could be blasters, and you can have them on the ends here. And of course, when I got this, what I would do is I would connect them together like this, and then I would put it on the arm. There we go. So that he at least had an arm cannon, because that's because, you know, that would make him a little bit more Megatron-y. And Grayscale is here! A toast to Grayscale! So welcome, Grayscale! We were just talking about Megatrons that don't look like Megatron. But so here we have him in his robot mode, and he is this, and he's not a bad figure. You know, in fact, this is probably one of the coolest Transformers toys that was ever engineered. I mean, it's fun. It's tons of fun just trying to figure out how many additional modes you can add to this thing. It was originally advertised as having 6, and then this is where they started something else. This was a trend for the next 3 series after Car Robots, would be that they would repaint the Megatron figure in different colors and call it Galvatron. And after they did it in Robots in Disguise, and then they did it in Armada, you knew that they were going to do it in Energon and Cybertron, and I got tired of that real quick. You know, I didn't buy the white version because it was the same toy, and I was poor, and I didn't love this toy enough to want a white version just for the sake of having a white version. And, you know, obviously, you know, I'm a sucker. If it had been a character that I cared about, or something like that, then I probably would have bought it. But the Robots in Disguise show was bad. It was just bad. And so I had no real interest in whatever was happening when he turned white. I just had no emotional connection to that. So when the toy came out and it said, oh, we have 9 modes now, but it was the exact same toy with no new parts, then it's like, oh, well, you know what? Guess what? This one has 9 modes too, then. I'm not going to do all the modes. We have done that with this guy before, but I will show you the dragon mode, because I feel like that's the tangent that led from the Beast era to this toy. And I think that the decision to, and this was probably intended to be another version of Megatron had the Beast era continued, but it didn't, and they wanted to do something with it, but so it ended up being in Robots in Disguise. So to make him into a dragon, you open the chest, and we're gonna take it slides it slides. Oh, I hate it when I have to press too hard on an old toy. So there we go. It slides down and goes into the chest. And the arms, they rotate. You know, the forearms just rotate and pull. And there we go. I'm trying to be careful. This is not a new toy. And we're going to pull and rotate. Pull and rotate. There we go. And it'll click a little bit. And then you have these sort of dragon claw feet things. And then we can take those shoulders and just have them kind of reach forward, and then we can rotate at the bicep just like that, and bend at the elbow to make dragon legs. And so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to rotate it at the bicep just like that, and then bend right there. And then we take the legs, we're going to rotate those around like this, and then you close the feet, and you can arch the legs forward and put them into kind of a forward-leaning, dragon-y kind of thing, and flip these panels up to reveal the dragon heads. And of course you want to open the mouths because that's important. You know, he has to be like, ah! So, you know, ah! But don't have him cover his head because, you know, he has to have the head. And then we're going to take the tail, and the tail can go here. Whoa, or it can go down there. So, oh, wait, there we go. Okay, so the tail is obviously on a ball joint. There's the ball. And we can pop that back in there. Okay, so let's try this again. We're going to take the tail, and we're just going to close the tail over top of where the head is. And it's going to sort of snap in there, and then we can rotate at this 90-degree joint here, and we can kind of pivot this up so that he has kind of a curved tail. And if you want to be dynamic, you can kind of offset it a little bit. And then you take this whole wing assembly, and it's on this double joint here like this. And that's going to fold up. And while you're folding up, you kind of want to bend the wings back a little bit and have it, see there's this peg right here and that hole right there. So you're going to peg it in back there. And then the last thing to do is right around his waist, he's got these little bitty dragon arms, and you can pull those out and maneuver them around. They're on ball joints, so there's a little bit of twistiness. You pull it out, and then twist it around so that it can face forward, and then twist the forearm around. And there you have a dragon. Spread the wings out, and he's like, rah, 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 rah. And, you know, and it is an awesome looking dragon. I mean, there is no arguing with that. Let me put him on the other camera so that you can appreciate all of his dragony goodness. I think I'll flip up the things on the legs. There we go. Okay, so, and there. Okay, so take a look there, and that is Dragon Megatron from Car Robots. Not really looking much like any version of Megatron, but obviously influenced by Red Dragon Megatron, and you know, in Beast Machines, by the end of the series, Megatron was in an Optimus Primal body. That's how much his design had, his body type had just become irrelevant to the character, even though it was a completely different character. But then you have this version that's obviously inspired by Beast era Megatron. Let me get that out of the way so that we can kind of move him around. But you can see he is posable. He's got joints all over the place. This is a fun toy. And the fact that it doesn't look like any version of Megatron it doesn't mean that it's bad, but it just means that it's a complete departure from anything recognizable that we've seen in the series thus far. So that is Car Robots Megatron. Cool, fun. I feel like this is one of your favorites. You love Car Robots Megatron, and I love this toy, but I don't feel like I've never felt like this was a representation of Megatron. It's Gigatron. I'm okay with it being Gigatron. That fits. So there we go. He's never gonna fit back into my little thing. I mean, he this is mass shifting right here. So he is tripled his size just in the process of transformation. So I'm gonna sit him over here. You know, if you get bored during the live stream, you can play with him. So then you have, and finally at this point, after Car Robots, then Hasbro's ready. And they've got a great plan. They're going to work together with... obviously, they've been working with Takara since the early 80s. But they're going to work with Takara and the showrunners for the Japanese show, and they're going to work together on the show so that instead of having a Japanese show and an American show that are completely different, it's going to be one show, and they'll just, do some redubbing and maybe a little bit of light editing, and it'll be great. It was not great. In fact, it was so not great that they would never, ever do it again following the Unicron trilogy. And let me just say, as a representative of Transformers fans everywhere, yeah, Unicron trilogy. Oh gosh, that was... And I've gone back and I've rewatched Armada, which was actually a better series than I thought at the time. I can watch it, and you know what? You get to the end. There's a progression there. There's a story, and there's a great fight between Megatron and Optimus Prime. I mean, that's one of my favorite fights between Megatron and Optimus Prime. It kicks ass. And, I really like the animation. I love, every time I think about it, I think about that part where Prime pulls off one of Megatron's treads from his shoulders. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's what I've been waiting to see for at that time, it would have been 20 years. And so, but I tried to rewatch Energon. I did. I could not get through it. I mean, it started out... It seemed like it was going somewhere, and Unicron's attacking, they're mini-cons, there's stuff's happening, and then it seemed like Unicron just sat there for episode after episode, and I think by the third episode that nothing was happening, it was like, I'm done, I'm done, I just can't. And of course there was the constant problem of getting names wrong, and the motivations for characters not really making sense. But one good thing happened. Joy is here! A toast to Joy! Welcome, Joy! I was just on my soapbox ranting about how bad the Unicron trilogy was 20 years after it happened. Yeah, I'm a nerd. It's true. I admit it. So, of course, you needed a Megatron. If, wait. I'm getting a message from my finger. Dawn is here! Whoa! So, whoops. Wrong button. A toast to Dawn! Dawn, I was just ranting about the Unicron trilogy and what I thought of it. How did you feel about the Unicron trilogy? Yeah, there's actually a 20-second lag, so I can't just sit here and wait for the response. But it is good to see Elos and Punt. I don't know what that means. It's probably internet speak or something. But nonetheless, so we had Transformers Armada, and really, that's all you're giving me. Don says it was fine. I think that you're being a little bit disingenuous there, Mr. Don. So here we go. This is Armada Megatron. And Armada Megatron, once again, at this point, you can see they don't give two wussets of what Megatron should look like, because he bears no resemblance to Dragon Megatron from Car Robots. I mean, they're just nothing. And he's got half a tank on each shoulder, or maybe a quarter of a tank on each shoulder, and he's got shrapnel's antenna on his head, and I mean, he's a little bit absurd. Like on first glance, he is a little bit absurd. But I have to say that as absurd as he is, it's actually a really fun toy. And so if we take a look here, let's just pull him off of the side here. So he's not as posable as a Beast Wars character. This is a weird thing. Armada was a weird line. They took some steps backwards. And in some ways, I think that it was wise for them to do so, because honestly, some of the Beast Wars toys had gotten so complicated and so shell-formy that yes, you had a posable figure with a relatively convincing creature body around it, but you would also have that figure with like 3 times the mass just sticking out the back. You look at the crab guy, Rampage, and I love that toy. I mean, I love that toy. And I've shown it on these on this live stream in the past, but you transform him into a robot, and as long as you look at him from the front, he's great. But you turn him to the side, and he's like a robot with crab all over his back, crab and tank tread and huge amounts of wutsits coming out his back. And then you have the manta ray guy, I forget his name, Depth Charge. It was Depth Charge. And he has also got like so much manta ray sticking out his back. And then you have characters like Skybite, which was released for Robots in Disguise, but it was another beast mode transformer that I'm sure was intended for a continuation of the Beast era that never happened. And he takes 45 minutes to transform, and there's some parts where you're just having to fight to squeeze parts around other parts because everything's in the way. And I think that they realized that these toys were too difficult for a lot of younger kids, but the older kids that they would apply to had outgrown their interest. Well, some of them did. Not all of them, obviously. But so they kind of took a step back and they rediscovered their roots, and they said, we're going to do a Transformers line, and it's going to be Transformers that turn into cars and trucks and machines and stuff like that. And we get Megatron, and he's got like, he can do jumping jacks, but he can't walk. His legs, he's got no hip joint. This, you know, the ability to go like this is only for the transform. He has no knees. So it's a brick. We're back to a brick of a figure. And you think, okay, this is 2003. We've discovered ball joints. We've discovered hip joints, but they weren't interested in making him, and it wouldn't have taken much. When I got a knockoff version of this, which was larger, which I kit bashed to turn into a more Megatron-y Megatron, which I think we still have that on the shelf, don't we? Gen 3 Megatron. I might as well show that if it's available. So, but they just didn't. They just didn't. And it wasn't because they were unwilling to put in extra stuff, because this guy is chock full of play features, but he's not. He's not. Posability isn't one of those play features. He's gonna look. He's gonna stand there. He's gonna look like this. Now his shoulders have articulation. He can rotate at the shoulder. He can put his arm out like this. He's got an elbow joint. He can swivel his arms around. He's even got a joint in this hand because he got a shiv. Look at that. He's got a shiv. He has Megatron, and this is Prison Riot Megatron. And you know, it's like somebody throws their cafeteria tray and everybody starts fighting, and then, oh look, Megatron carved a shiv out of his internal arm strut. I don't know. So just to show you, I got this. They had these. Didn't they have Bob at Walmart for a while, and then later we found a couple more at the Grove City outlets? KB Toys. Okay, so there was a knockoff that was based very heavily off of this design. We nicknamed it Bob. And so I kit bashed it, and I made a mold. That's right, I made a mold of Gen 2 Megatron's head, and I actually got this foil, this adhesive backed foil, which I pressed into a lot of the pieces to try and make him shiny, and it, you know, it sort of worked, but it's not as pretty as I would have liked. But I built in these Mega Bloks hinges so that he has articulated legs, and so, you know, this is my Gen 3. I called it Gen 3 Megatron because, of course, at that point, I am, you know, it's been 20 years, and I have seen, and at that point, I still wasn't into Beast Wars. I hadn't discovered just how legitimately cool it was, but, and I was craving my nostalgia, but in 2003, Hasbro wasn't doing nostalgia. You know, my generation still, we were struggling college students that didn't have any money to spend on toys, yet some of us might have still been buying some of them. So Rob S wants Gen 2 Megs and Armada Megatron side by side. You know what? Let's do that. That's a good idea. Let me put Gen 3 Megatron, we'll set him down over here. And I'm so afraid that something's going to break on him. But, we have Gen 2 Megatron right here. And they're kind of big, so I'm going to show them on the main camera. But you can see that they are green, and they are tanks. tanks. So you look. So you look at these guys. Faces are very, very different. Head sculpts are very, very different. Bodies, they really don't have a lot in common. But yeah, now this is, whoops, not this one. But you know what? Let me just go ahead. I will show. Maybe I can get this on the camera. So. Maybe if I push them back far enough against the wall, maybe we'll be able to see all this. Okay, so side camera, do your thing. And there we go. Okay, so you can see these guys. And we'll lean Gen 3 Megatron forward a little bit so that you can see what's going on here. There we go. And so there you have Gen 2 Megatron, which I always really liked, and then Armada Megatron. I wonder if I can get them just a little bit more into focus. Well, that's not the way to do it. There. I think that's probably as close as I'm going to get. Okay, so there you have it. You have Armada Megatron, and then this is, you know, like I said, I kind of nicknamed this Gen 3 Megatron because it's very heavily based off of the Armada Megatron design, except with a Gen 2 Megatron head and then Gen 1 Megatron color scheme. So, but that's where we were at. And so Armada Megatron, like I said, they weren't going cheap. You know, I don't believe that making him so that his legs didn't have hip joints was really much of a cost-saving thing. I mean, of course, anything that they don't include can be considered a cost-saving thing, but I just don't think that posability was a priority during this line. I think that they were more interested in trying to put in other play features. So, like, you have the shiv, the knife that comes out of his wrist, and that's just so cool. I love that. That is neat. And it's on a mini-con post because, of course, that was the Armada gimmick overall, is that they had mini-con posts, and then, you know, technically you could take the mini-con on here, and then supposedly that would unlock the thing. But as you could see, I could do it without the mini-con. So, you know, you have your mini-con there, and his knife comes out. And you also had the ability to do this. And so, you know, he had this cannon thing that came out of his side, and that's cool. The ability to do that is cool. And I will say that original Gen 1 Megatron, the toy, did have that cannon barrel on his back that could be swung around and tucked under his side just like that, which we saw in the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon when he was fighting Optimus Prime and he had all the powers of the other Decepticons. So I don't know if I would call that a callback, but it is definitely a definite similarity there. This arm, strangely enough, this arm doesn't have any extra gimmicks. I know, I'm as shocked as you are. And then we've got other gimmicks that really reveal themselves in the tank mode, but does that count? Tank singular? Does that? Okay, so it counts. It counts. He also does this. You can do that, and you can take this whole thing around here and just kind of do that, and then and then you can take the Minicon here, and you can put them on this thing, and do that, and then that kind of locks these in. Well, not quite a forward-facing thing, but it holds it up that way, and you can have these going out like this, and then they've got this little crank on the side, and oh yeah, you point this out this way, and then he can be like, oh wait a minute here, there, okay, oh come on, oh there we go, nope. It's supposed to spin. It spins somehow. It spins somehow. And it makes noise. And I did something wrong, but somehow you get that so that it spins. And that's a thing that it does. It's certainly not the most. I understand that, you know, when you add guns to a robot, that ideally should make it cooler. And you know, they've got the turret here on his stomach. That's just weird. I'm sorry, that's just weird. That it does nothing for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. That does not intimidate me. In my mind's eye, I imagine him doing that, and the Autobots just kind of being like, "Is that your ultimate weapon, Megatron?" It's like, but nonetheless, so we put that back here like this, and let's go ahead and turn him into a tank, which is not difficult. I said it again. I said it again. Okay, so. I was doing so well through Gen 2 Megatron. I just want to point out that I was doing really well during Gen 2 Megatron. I did not say that at all. But I cannot get through this guy. And here's the thing. He's not even that convincing in his alt mode. I'm saying alt mode now. Show, not tell. So, we're going to open the door on his shoulder, and we're going to fold the arm up in there, and we're going to close the door. We're going to open the door in his other shoulder, and you remember what I was saying about how with Galvatron, his transform is way different than a lot of other toys, where you just kind of go around the different limbs and transform them and you know, kind of put it together. Okay, this guy is the exact opposite. You take the waist here, and you can kind of, you just swivel at the waist, and then you're going to have him do the squats. There he goes. He's doing the squats. And then you're going to flip out this little heel thing, and you're going to flip out this little heel thing, and then you're going to take his big feet, and you're going to flip those around like that. And there he is. Oh, this is important. He's got a little panel so that you can only see his eyes. That way here, maybe there. Okay, so if you hold it up, there. Oh, that okay. There's no. You know what? I wish that that Blue Jet had a little panel like that. Okay, that would have made me happy. So there's no robot face. But, so they do cover the robot face. That's important. At least to me it is. And then you have this. Now let's go ahead and show this on the other camera, because it's a cool looking whatever it is. Haha! You thought I was gonna say it. There it is. And it is cool looking. Now, I have mixed feelings. You know, I like the tread details. I like the colors. But this hollow thing right here, I don't like that at all. And I believe that this was supposed to be some kind of Minicon grabbing gimmick but they didn't finish it. So it's just a couple of spring-loaded little things, and you know, I guess you can imagine that it would go through and be like, ah, I get the minicon, I got the minicon, and so now he's got his little minicon, which, by the way, this minicon is named Leader 1, because at that point, Hasbro had acquired, they had gobbled up GoBots, and they needed to secure their IP. So while they couldn't use the likeness, which is probably why this guy is Leader 1 and not the gray jet that came with Optimus Prime, they did want to use the name. And so you've got this thing here, which is like a minicon, an extra minicon point, and you can actually put a couple of minicons on there. You could put one there and put one there. And yeah, he's got minicon ports all over him. He's got one here. He's got one here. You can see another one here, there. He's got... Okay, so on this side, it's like, oh, there's only one minicon port. No. Look at that. He's got minicon ports there, and there. So, you know, they were really playing up the ability to just cram minicons all over this guy. And, you know, we should do that sometime during a live stream. Just get as many minicons as we can and see how many we can smother all over this guy. He's got a minicon catcher over on this side here. So you could, like, take your little minicon and put it inside there. And it's like, oh, I captured another minicon. Ha ha ha. But, so we got that, and that just tucks into the side there. And then we've got this one, which I guess is a little bit less of a capturing device and just more of a, you know, thing where we can take this, and, yeah, you take the minicon and he rolls up there, and then it can be like, oh, yeah, yes, I've got it now, and now he can drive off, and I don't know, maybe this goes like that. But, so, they've got all these neat little things. And, of course, by the way, you know, oh, wait, here. We got something right here. No, I don't wanna. No, Jar Jar, just stay right there. Oh, no, I know where this goes. Yeah, you do. And you can do that. Oh, poor Jar Jar. So you got the cool firing mechanism there. And then you've got these missiles that also fire. And you see you had the flashing light there. So you can go like that. So he's got play features all over him. And I have to say that despite the fact that he is very, very not Megatron, at least not any version of Megatron that makes me think Megatron. He's a cool toy. He's a really cool toy. And I feel like, you know, they did an homage to him a few years ago, which was actually pretty cool, but I don't know if we're ever going to get a toy that has as much fun built into it as this. At least not for this character. He's made to have fun with. And I think that that's what Hasbro wanted. And I think that that's what they needed. Because, let's face it, a lot of the Robots in Disguise toys, they may have been cool. But they weren't necessarily fun. You know, I don't go back and play with Sideburn or Skybite. I'll look at them, and if I'm in the mood, then I'll transform them. But it's not something that I look forward to. And this guy, I may not agree with him being Megatron, but getting him from robot mode to other mode, see, I said other mode, is is pretty easy and pretty fun. So, Ty Guy says that he thinks that he looks a lot like Tankor, which that counts as a thing, I'm sure. Here, so let's pull this out, and you've pulled out Tankor, and so let's take a look at Tankor. Let's put them side by side on the side camera, and there we go. And yeah, I can see some similarities. Now this is Universe Tankor rather than Beast Machines Tankor, which means that he is different colors but the same mold. But yeah, I can see some similarities there. I feel like this guy would be this guy's commander. You know, that they seem like aesthetically the design is similar, and I could see how they would belong to the same universe. So anyway, a toast to Ty Guy for his deep cut. Yeah, very astute observation, Ty Guy. Yeah, I especially see what you're talking about with the side cannon here. Yeah, you know, that actually works really well. You could have it go over the shoulder, but I don't think that, let's see, would it actually go over the shoulder? Yeah, okay, so you could do that. And then, so, you know, if he's feeling a little bit Gen 2 Megatron-y, then he could do that. In some ways, I'm kind of surprised that we never got a slight retool with a Megatron head, because boy, once they decided that they liked Megatron being a tank, oh, I said it, darn it. So we did get a lot of Megatron as you know what. So there we go. So that is Armada Megatron, and you know, he doesn't look like Robots in Disguise Megatron. He doesn't really look like Gen 2 Megatron. He doesn't even look like Beast era Megatron. He's just a robot that turns into a you know what. That's it. He's a robot that turns into a you know what that has a ton of play features, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think that Hasbro has learned that every few years they need to appeal to a new young audience, and something like this is fun. And if I were a kid in 2003, I would have been like, oh, this is my Megatron, and every other version, you know, I would have probably been kind of, you know, I would have been wishing now that when I see Megatron, he looked more like this and not so much like this weird guy that doesn't have. I mean, look, there's nothing to him. There's no shiv, and there's no mini-con ports. Why are you calling this Megatron? This is my guy, and look at those shoulders. I mean, they're not even all the way up to his chest. What? How is this Megatron? You know, that's what I would be thinking if I grew up with this toy. So of course. So Osaka Jack says, Clay, gonna be honest, I had been working on a gotcha, but you don't need help tonight. You're doing fine on your own. Well, Osaka Jack, thanks for that. Thanks a lot. Keeping it classy. So, next, we go through Transformers Energon, and we get both Megatron and then the repaint, which is called Galvatron, and I didn't buy it. Yeah, money was still tight back then. Money seems to always be tight, but it was really tight when I was a student. And honestly, the Galvatron version that didn't really bring anything new to the table. It was just a different color. Yeah, it was gray and purple. And, you know, it was, I mean, gray and purple's nice. It's cool, but I didn't get it. So then we had the Energon series, and that's the other thing. Galvatron was released during the same year as Megatron. You know, I think that it was like wave 3 rather than wave 1, but it was the same year. And then you go to Energon, and that's in 2004. So here we have now. Okay, so I have a couple versions. So this is original Transformers Energon Megatron. I love this toy. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, at this, you know, it's not a. It's like a flying gunship. And look, it has these things that make more guns come out. And it's just got, yeah, gun, maybe a gun, another gun, another gun, gun. And oh, look, that's a tank on the back. And in case you're just kind of watching closely, if you look at that, oh shit, I said it again. Oh crap, I said shit. And I swore. Trying to keep it family friendly here. So, it's got a and the on the back here just happens to be a miniature version of Armada Megatron's alt mode. Okay, wait here. I guess I'll. He doesn't take long to transform. You do that. You flip up that. You flip that around. You go like that. You go like that, and then you flip those around and flip these around, and boom! It's so. We've got. You look at this, okay, and you look at that. They made a miniature version of this for that. So the idea that Megatron's new body apparently took the carcass of his old body and decided to use it as a weapon, to me, that's hardcore. Okay, that is a statement, ladies and gentlemen. That you are making a statement, and so you have this gunship, you know. I don't feel like this is a kind of ship. I feel like this is that ship that you don't see it coming. You feel it coming. From miles away, the ground starts sort of rumbling with vibrations because it's got these massive engines that shake the earth for miles around, and then slowly it comes over the horizon, and then this giant gunship comes over the mountain and then starts swooping down, and you see it coming, and you're like, oh no, there's this, we're all gonna die, then yes, you are all gonna die, because it's gonna come down and it's just gonna lay waste to everything that you know and love. Your home is destroyed, your city is destroyed, all from this one thing that's just raining death in the form of purple lasers, and everything is exploding around you, and people blowing up, and cars blowing up, and you know, and everything is laid to ruin in the wake of this ship. That's how I imagine this ship, and so it's a brilliant toy also. So you've got the landing here, and you can fold that in, and you can fold that up, and you can fold that up, and you can take the tank. Oh, I said it again. You can take the thing off. So, and you take that off, and by the way, just in case there was anybody that was like hiding for cover while it was raining death, the vehicle comes down as a drone and just starts blowing away everything. You know, so that comes off. But then you can fold these up, and then you can take the legs here, which are like these big thundery jets, and they go around like this. And see, as you swing the legs around, things start transforming themselves. The kneecaps come forward, and then you can take the whole kneecap here, and you can just kind of slide this shin piece, and look, it makes the foot pop out. And you do that, and it does that. And then you take the arm, the shoulders, and you go like that. And you take this, and you go like that. And you can kind of take the wings here. Oh, that's like that. And you can rotate. Oh wait, you don't rotate it yet. You rotate it here, and then you go down like that. And then you flip the head up, and you flip up his ear things, and then you put him into a dynamic pose, because this guy's got posability. Oh yeah, he actually had a sword that stores up in here, and the sword is supposed to stick on the back of the you know, like that. But I mean, honestly, that doesn't do a darn thing for me. The idea of him doing this. Okay, I'm not into it. I'm not digging it. So what I did was I filed a 5mm post out of the base there, so that he could just hold the sword like a normal killer robot. There, he can hold his sword. And let's put it in this arm, actually. We'll put it in this hand. So he's got his sword here. And then he takes the and he puts it on his arm. Okay, so he has just taken his transformed lifeless carcass, and I know I'm gonna pay for this in drinking, but I don't care, and he turns it into a tank. And when he points his weapon at you, he's not just pointing an arm cannon at you, he's pointing a freaking tank at you. He's holding the tank and he's pointing it at your head, and that's the last thing you see in your life before you are vaporized, and there's not even enough left to identify the body. So, yeah, I said tank like about 40 times. And of course, you look at him, and he is an obvious homage to Gen 1 Galvatron. So much so that 6 months later, Galvatron. Mother freakers. Trying to keep it family friendly. Mother forkers? Oh, mother forkers. I love this toy even more. I mean, he looks so good, and yeah, he's big and he's kind of boxy, but he's still got he's fully posable. You know, he's got fully articulated shoulders and arms, and you can even rotate the forearms like that and get him into curse you Autobots poses. And of course he's got the orange cannon, you know, cannons on his shoulders, which are very much and notes, I do appreciate that the yes, Monica was just pointing out that the whatchamahickey on his arm is colored like the Galvatron version of the Armada toy. So you know, that is a very nice little touch here. But yeah, we've got that, and you know, he's got posable legs and posable knees, and he's such an imposing figure. I mean, he's just really, you know, his head turns, he's cool, and you look at him, and, I kind of, okay, I'm going to try and transform this into a robot real quick, because I want to compare the likeness, because this guy is pretty much movie accurate. So, I'm going to pull these out, and I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to pull this off, and I'm gonna pivot that, and I'm gonna split these, and I'm gonna pull that out, and I'm gonna pull that out like that, and I'm gonna fold those like that, and then I'm going to swing these down like this. Oh, I'm gonna disengage those so that I can pull those out of the way, and then we will rotate these, take these little side things, put them back around the backs here, like that and like that, and then we'll pull that out like that, and then we need to open up, come on, open up, I know you can open up that, and then pull that up, and then we're going to close that behind his, well, sort of start to close it, pivot the whole thing back around there, and then put the chest down, lock in that back piece, lock in this piece, which is on sort of a double hinge thing here, and then that'll just plug in there. We take the stick and put it behind him like that, so that he can appear to have a stick up his you-know-what, and then we take the sides here and go like that, and go like that, give him his iconic shoulders, which is important, and then get those side pieces in place, pull the arms out, and pull the fists out. And then we imagine Leonard Nimoy and his grisly, menacing voice, and not whatever the heck Frank Welker was doing. You know, he was getting a paycheck. That's what he was doing. It's like, oh, the show's gotten bad at this point, but you know what? They're still willing to pay me, so I'm gonna. You know, I think Frank Welker during season 3 of Transformers was just chewing up scenery. I think that, yeah, it's like, okay, I gotta do something, and it's like, Decepticons, not Decepticons. Away! I will rip open Ultra Magnus and every other Autobot until the Matrix has been destroyed. So yeah, we have Galvatron in his Galvatronness, but we look at that. I mean, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. And yeah, this may not be movie accurate. You know, this definitely straight up, this looks like the movie. But you know what? This is pretty good. This is pretty good. And dare I say that whereas, yes, this is absolutely much, much more Gen 1 accurate, and it's got the cannon mode, and he's got a matrix, but is he more fun than this toy? No. No, he is not. And that's hard for me to say because this is really cool, and it's superposable, and it looks great. But is it as much fun to play with? I mean, is it as... I mean, this one's over the top. It's got... He's pointing a you-know-what at your face. I mean, there's... Yeah. And Christopher Remley is here. A toast. Wait, here. I've got Megatrons all over the place. Wait, here, let me put that down. A toast to Christopher Remley. So, early in my relationship with my lovely, lovely wife, she learned that it's dangerous for me to get new toys. And one of the things that I remember is when I got this toy, and I had heard that the wings come off. And then I discovered that there's like a separation point right here, and you can actually get the wings to come, but it's really just the wing tips. And I thought, you know, I would really like for this to, like, maybe not have the big clunky wings. So I did a little kit bash. And so what I did was I discovered that this was just on this thing, and I filed some notches here and I filed some notches here so that I could just rotate it 90 degrees and disengage it, and then you have robot here, and then let me take the whatever this is called, and so you got your robot there, and now he's, you know, a lot less clunky looking. And you take your whatever it's called and you put it on top of here, and then maybe do a little bit of that and bring those out. And so now you got this flying drone thing, you know, and this is like a swoopy, and then, you know, it could even like strafe along the ground and be like, or then this comes off and it's still you know one of these things, and then this flies away or something like that. Chris Remley says all this you-know-whats and sticking his you-know-wheres makes your stream sound so much naughtier. Thanks, Christopher Remley. Thanks very much. So I just wanted to show that little kit bash, and you know, those are a little filing here and a little filing in the hole here, and you know, it's like, oh wow, that changes the toy a lot. I did find, yeah, it seemed like it was years later that we found this, but a smaller version of Energon Megatron, and because I love this design so much, I had to get it. Now, it's not like world's smallest or anything. It's just a little bit smaller, but still bigger than, like, I would say that it's about on par with leader scale Transformers now. So, and there's actually a lot more to it than a leader scale figure now, but it's exactly the same engineering. I mean, you know, everything is the same. It transforms the same. It has all of the same features. It, you know, it has the spring-loaded hands that come in, and you do that. and you do that, and you can do that, and you can take the legs and do that, and you can push these like that, and you can take the other leg and do that, and you can slide that like that, and then this comes down like this and just clicks in like that, and then this spins around, and then the jet thrusters peg in underneath there and peg underneath there, and then it's even still got this feature, which that's cool. The fact that it does that, that's really cool. So, and then of course you take the and it goes right there, and it's even still got the landing gear. So we can take this, although it's a little bit sticky, it doesn't want to come out. It's got the landing gear, but the joint is stiff because there we go. Okay, so we've got landing gear there, landing gear there, landing gear there. So we've got, and now instead of it being, it's a little bit more of a and that's really the only difference. Once again, awesome toy, just awesome toy. And it's I love the Energon line. Was a great line of toys. It was just a fantastic line of toys. Probably the excuse me, too many of these. The worst thing about the Energon line was Optimus Prime. Bad version of Prime, but great version of Megatron. And this is where Hasbro actually embraced the homage. This is one of the first toys that I can think of that really, after Gen 1 actually went back and homaged Gen 1, like not just a little bit in really minor, subtle ways, but they were like, you know what, we're doing Galvatron. We are just doing Galvatron. But it still wasn't Megatron. That's the thing. It was an homage, and it was, and the earlier version, this was named Megatron, but the form was still not Megatron. So, and Mazenfur is here. Hey, a toast to Mazenfur. Welcome, Mazenfur. So we get to, let's see, that was 2004, I believe, Energon was. And so we get to, let's see, yes, 2004 was Energon. And so then 2005, we've got the Cybertron series. And by this time I knew that whatever Megatron they did was going to get repainted in a few months and be released as Galvatron. And I hated that. I have to say, I hated that whole thing. Because to me, Galvatron is supposed to be like a different toy. It's supposed to be upgraded. It's not just, I changed colors, I'm going to change my name for reasons, except that then people are not really going to use it, and I'll just go back to my first name. But when I first come out, I'm going to say, hey, now my name is this. It's sort of like if I put on a sweater and I said, okay, from now on I need everybody to call me Superman. And then it's like, but all you did was put on a sweater, and it's like, but it's got an S. and they'd be, okay, I guess I'll get behind that. And of course I take the sweater off and I'm back to being being Jeff. So you get Megatron as a dragster, and he's black, purple, and orange. And I guess and he's got horns, and I guess they were sort of going for a Unicron vibe. But then, see this time they didn't get me. This time they didn't get me. Because then a few months later, they released Galvatron, and he's silver and black and orange? Like, I don't understand the orange, but nonetheless, this is him. And so we've got what's kind of close to a Gen 1 Megatron color scheme. We've got the silver, we've got black, and the orange is analogous to red. That is a color theory word from my art school days, but orange is analogous to red. So, you know, if you imagine these as red, then it would be Gen 1 Megatron colored. And what I did was, in order to give him a little bit more of a Megatron feel, let's see if I can get this on the camera, because he's pretty tall. So, here, we'll put him in a seating position here, and maybe that'll help. Side camera, there we go. So I added aluminum foil tape, which at this point has gotten a little bit old, and you know, I should probably replace that. But I added foil tape to the horns so that his helmet would be silver rather than black, in an attempt to give him a little bit more of a Gen 1 Megatron-y look. But I feel like his face is pretty solidly Beast Wars Megatron looking. But of course, I don't have it transformed correctly. It's supposed to be like that. And once you do that, he looks more like Wolverine. It's like a Wolverine mask on Beast Wars Megatron. So that, but it is a silver color scheme, which I do like a lot better. So I guess technically this is Galvatron, even though it's the exact same mold as Megatron, but it's more colored like Gen 1 Megatron. And of course, also in the instructions, what you're supposed to do is you just kind of have the fenders behind him, like whoops, like this, and then so at this point, if maybe there we go. Okay, so yeah, we got to get his shoulder things to peg in, but they don't want to peg in. Come on, peg in. Don't fight me, Megatron or Galvatron or whatever the hell your name is. So there we go. So these are supposed to kind of be behind him, and at this point it's Batman. It's Silver Surfer Batman. And what's funny is, not only does he look like Batman in his robot mode, but his vehicle mode looks like the Batmobile. Now it's a good toy. Don't get me wrong. He's big, and he's got a really cool kind of cool looking body form. He's got hip joints, and he's got rotating thighs here, and knee joints, and a rotation below the knee, and he's got clickable, posable feet, and he's got a double joint in the hinge with a rotating bicep. And he's got rotating fists, so he's got a lot of points of articulation. You can sort of rotate the head just a little bit, but these hinges get into the way. And then he, of course, has some unlockable features that you use a cyber planet key to unlock the features instead of mini-cons, because that was the gimmick for the Cybertron series. And so we've got, you know, these things on the side here that you do that, and then this thing comes out, and then those spiky bits come on, and he can hold that like a weapon, which you know, he can do that. And we can take out the Cyber Planet key here. Maybe here. Take out the Cyber Planet key, and then we'll put in the Cyber Planet key here, and then this opens up, and you take out that, and that'll stay open unless you take the Cyber Planet key back out. And then what this is, this turns into Rhinox's gun, and that's important because Rhinox always had a cool gun. So now he can do that. And then you have the little crank thing, which seems to work better than it did on Armada Megatron. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, he can do that. Yeah, and Waspinator's like, and then pieces are coming off of him, because, you know, that's pretty much what Waspinator's job was during Beast Wars. And then you've also got these jet things which can pop up, and they're more effective in car mode, but they do that. So yeah, he's got stuff that happens, and play features. Personally, I'm not actually a big fan of the Cyber Planet keys as a gimmick. And it's funny because, like, the idea of planet keys that do stuff, and you plug it in and it unlocks features, that to me is a cool idea. But the problem is that these keys were designed in such a way that you plug them in and they only unlock the feature, and most of the time you can't put the feature back while the key's in, and you can't store the key on the figure anywhere without having a feature unlocked. And usually the features, like, they were a fun thing to do every now and then, but, like, you know, I don't want this thing to be popped out when he's in car mode. You know, fortunately, he did have these jets, which are fine in vehicle mode, so you can store the key there, which is why this key is still with him, because most of my Cyber Planet keys are in a little Tupperware-like container, because they just don't store on the characters. And I feel like that hurts the play feature, just because of the practicality of always having to try and keep track of these planet keys that are an integral part of playing with the toy, but also easily lost. And yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna put this back in here like that, and let's go ahead and let's show him in his alt modes, because he has two. So I'm gonna put his horns back in, which is better, and I'm going to fold the head back like this, and then I'm going to disengage the body, which always wants to disengage itself. You know, when you're playing with this toy, it's the chest is gonna pop free a lot, because it's really only held in with these two little tiny pegs. If you look at these, they're right there, right like that, and they've got little tiny holes here, so they don't lock in all that solidly. I feel like if they had done a rectangular tab that went the length of this part and then a rectangular slot here, that would have been more effective and easier to line up also. But they did, and fortunately they haven't broken off. So you know, kudos to that. You know, it's a robust toy, but that part just doesn't work all that well. And then we're gonna spread out these little panels here on the front, and we're gonna pull that out, you know, that little cockpit thing. And then we're going to take the arms, and see, these are actually very interesting. You have the ends, and they're on this double joint thing here, and you're going to pull it out like this, and then you're going to push it like that. Okay, see how it slides at the wrist? It's going to do that. And then you're going to go like that and close that around the fist. And then he's got these rubber pieces that don't seem to hold their shape all that well. And you just kind of have to ignore that. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. I'm going to straighten out that fist, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to push it in that way and close the fist. And then you take these things, and the shoulders are going to go in like this. Just like that. And now we can close the arms together and just kind of click them all together like this. Maybe. There we go. There we go. So we get everything together, and then we can take these side panels and we can close them around like this. And then you have these little eyelashes. I don't know what these are. These are little rubber pieces, but if you want, you can flip them down like that just to kind of cover up that hinge. It doesn't make much of a difference. You can leave them up if you want. It really doesn't matter. It's your toy. You can transform it any way you want. So nonetheless, we are going to take the fenders, and these long linkages here are kind of crazy, and knowing how to maneuver them correctly is a little bit tricky. But what I do is I look at this nub, and I know that there's going to be a hole, and sure enough, there's a hole right here. You see that hole right there, and that is going to go over that nub, and that will help you to figure out how to position that linkage correctly. And of course, you know, since this is the bottom of the vehicle, which is pretty obvious, you need to make sure that this fender is rotated, because it does rotate. You know, there's a lot of different things that you can do to preference with that fender. So you want to make sure that it's rotated so that the wheel's on the outside and facing down. And then this post right here is going to peg in to this hole. So that gives you your points of alignment. And so we're going to put that there like that, and we're going to snap this part in right here first, and then we're going to put that fender in and snap that in just like that. And that's actually going to make the front end of the car. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, which once you know how to do it, it's a lot easier. And you see how this one, I have to rotate this around to get it into the right position. So I do that, and then I do that, and do that, and lock all that in. And then there's this little tiny tab in between there to get these two front pieces to go together, just like that. And then now we've got the pelvis here, and we're going to swing the legs out like this. We're going to just flip this over. This is just going to flip over like that. See, he's going to do the splits, and then we're going to rotate the legs so that the knees or the shins are facing the front of the vehicle. We're going to bend at the knees, and you see there's these holes right here, and there is a peg right there, and those are going to align nice and solid too. I really like that, you know, the fact that there's no ambiguity when you're transforming him as to where this stuff goes. And then last thing, you're going to pull these rubbery pieces away from the wheel. You're going to, there's all sorts of skinny little fidgety stuff here. So you're going to move this so that the foot becomes a spoiler. And then you can just kind of fold this back and out of the way like that. And then we can do the same thing on this side. We can just pull that away and fold that up like that. And then that's going to flip up like that. And I mean, honestly, just replace the Decepticon logo with a bat symbol. Tell me that this is not the Batmobile. Okay, here, wait, let me help. Na 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 na. And you know, imagine the Joker cars like firing at him, and you know he's going around a tight corner, and the grappling hook shoots out of the side, and then he makes the turn, and then the Joker cars crash into police cars and stuff, and so yeah, this is here. Let's put it on the other camera just so that you can see it without me, you know, kind of doing Batmobile stuff. So there it is, and. I mean, oh, let me move Gen 2 Megatron out of the way, and Gen 3 Megatron here. You can just kind of move out of the way too. So there we go, like that. But I mean, it is a cool vehicle. It is a cool vehicle, and if Megatron is going to be a dragster or a race car, then you know what? This is a pretty good Megatron race car. You know, this is it really is badass. It looks awesome. But Megatron as a race car, just as a concept, you know, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine Megatron choosing to be a race car. Nonetheless, like I said, if he's gonna be a race car, that's pretty good. Yeah, if I were Megatron, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, if he had arrived on Earth in Gotham City, he sees the Batmobile, and it's like, yo, what alt mode am I gonna scan? Then yeah, you know what? He's scanning the Batmobile. You know he's scanning the Batmobile. Who wouldn't? I mean, he's a megalomaniac. He sees the Batmobile. I could be that. Okay, I'm being that. That's it. Decision made. So yeah, I'll accept that. And then he has a third mode where you can disengage the front fenders. There we go. And you can bring them around the back like this, and then they just sort of peg in on the wheels. So we're just going to do that. There we go. And yeah, you can adjust these however you want. But yeah, you can kind of leave them alone, honestly. And do the same thing on the other side. And there, now it's well, it's not the bat plane, okay? Tim Burton showed us very definitively what the bat plane looks like in front of the moon, and this is not it. But it is definitively jet looking. And I'll accept it as a jet. You can kind of point these things up or something, but you know, it's a jet. It's definitely a jet. It is an air vehicle definitely in a child's imagination. This is quintessentially jet looking. I'll accept it as a third mode, even though there's really not much to it. I mean, you know, the transform is very, very simple, but it's effective and it works. And you know, I do like this color scheme. But once again, this bears no resemblance to any other version of Megatron except his face, like from here to here, looks very Beast era Megatron. Like, you know, from there to there, they gave him Beast Megatron's face and then Unicron horns. Essentially, they gave him Unicron horns. So that brings us to Cybertron. And yes, this is Cybertron. So that is Cybertron Megatron, and then something happened. So we of course had the live action Transformers movies, and that Megatron looks nothing like anything. You know, it's I think I have it around here just for reference sake somewhere. Oh, I think I piled a bunch of stuff on top of it. Wait here. Yeah, it looks like this. It looks like this. And I could make the case, okay, you see that Megatron looks nothing like Megatron, but honestly, there was really only two characters that I can think of in the entire set of live-action movies that bore any real similarity to the other universe versions of those characters. One is Optimus Prime. He looked like Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime doesn't usually have blue flames on him, but other than that, you know, he still had the muzzle when he would go into battle mode and stuff. And then there was Shockwave from Dark of the Moon. They definitely took their design aesthetic and applied it to Shockwave's distinct. You know, he had the Shockwave ears. He was a Cyclops. He was purple. He had the gun arm with the cable. So, but other than that, the movie characters they reused a lot of names. And you know, in my mind, you know, it's sort of like when during the Unicron trilogies, you would see a character that had a Gen 1 name, but it had nothing to do with the Gen 1 character. And that's really what the universe or the live action movies did for the most part. They used names, but you know, and maybe they would pick one attribute about that character. Oh, Ratchet's the doctor and he turns into an ambulance. So you have an ambulance and it's called Ratchet. But that's where the similarities end. There's no similarity between the vehicle types. There's no color similarities. There's no facial similarities. There's no body forms. Bumblebee got to be yellow and black. That's the only similarity to the original Bumblebee. It's just, you know, it's a yellow and black robot. So I don't feel like the movies count as an example of Megatron losing his identity, because with the movies, everybody was just, it's a different universe. So we get to Transformers Animated, which was so named because to very distinctly say, okay, you've got Transformers live action in the theaters, and then they wanted to create Transformers Animated as a distinctly different entity. And so the Megatron that we got with Transformers Animated, this guy looks familiar. I know who this is. For the first time in 2008, we have a Megatron that looks like Megatron. He does this.
Crush the Autobots. Where is the Allspark? Crush the Autobots.
And see, even his mouth moves. But see, if you try to make the mouth move with what he's saying, it goes to the next voice clip. So he just kind of jabbers incoherently if you try to make the mouth move. But nonetheless, he looks like Gen 1 Megatron. Obviously it's a different alt mode, and it's not shiny silver, but it's gray and black and red. He's got the flat Megatron chest. Of course, this is done in the animated style, so instead of being straight up rectangles, everything's a little bit more swoopy. But notice how simple and streamline they went. And this is something that I really respect about the whole animated line, is that they really made these look cartoon accurate. Or rather, the cartoon was accurate to the toys, but the toys were made to look like cartoons, which I feel like is an amazing achievement. I mean, you look at that cartoon and you look at those characters, and it doesn't seem like you should be able to translate that into the three-dimensional world, but the toy designers of the time did an amazing job of capturing those likenesses and making them work as toys. So at this point... Oh, and Rob S. says, a little influence from the Japanese Battlestar's Super Megatron. And you know what? Yes, you know what? At the time, I had no knowledge of the Japanese series. I mean, obviously I knew that it existed, but I didn't know anything about it. But they did do a recent, this was Hasbro Selects, right? And so this is Super Megatron, and Super Megatron looks like Megatron. Yeah, you know, and I don't know when that series came out, but nonetheless, yeah, there is a definite influence. Of course, this is a retool of Titan's Return Galvatron. It has Galvatron's legs and his arms, and they even reuse the treads, but they put them in a different place. But nonetheless, it is also a very, it is very distinctly Gen 1 Megatron as a character, upgrading that body design and giving him more accoutrements and giving him, like, the shoulder things and wing things and stuff like that. But very definitively saying, hey, you know what, this guy and this guy, they're the same guy. This is after he's been visited by Mighty Car Mods, and he's gotten, if you either that or he's gotten the hammer upgrades for Machine War or War Machine. So yeah, and Gen 2 Megatron says Megatron attack. So yeah, I can absolutely see some inspiration there, but thank you. Stop it. He was not happy. So, but the point being that at this point, Hasbro has made a decision where instead of just applying the name Megatron to whatever toy is going to be their big bad guy for that series, they are now realizing that there's value to consistency in their intellectual property. And you will see that in 2008, that is a turning point where they stop just throwing names to random characters that don't really have anything to do with that character just for the sake of holding on to the copyright to that name and the trademark, or the trademark in that case. But they're actually being conscious about what form they give different characters and trying to create sort of cohesion. And so here you have animated Megatron, and it's a good toy. It's of course made for a younger audience. So it's a big change from the Transformers Cybertron and really the whole Unicron trilogy, because those toys, for the most part, were heavier and thicker and more robust and sometimes more chunky, and especially for the Armada stuff, a lot less posable. But this guy's got opposable shoulder. He's got elbows. He's got fists. He's got hip joints. He's got knee joints. He's got feet. He can move his head around. He's got his weapons that do stuff, and I think that this actually supposedly fires, but it doesn't really fire all that well. Oh, never mind. It does fire that well. You just have to pull that out. Here, so, and we'll just put that missile in there. So you see very playable toys, and a very unique style, but this is the first time that we're actually getting Megatron. He's getting his identity back. And I remember when I saw this, and I was watching the show, and I was a big fan of the show. Now, granted, if you ever decide to rewatch Transformers Animated, if it's an episode where they're having human supervillains, you can just skip that episode. The human supervillains are crap. They're cringeworthy. Just don't. Okay, ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. And as long as you do that, you will like Transformers Animated. The idea that Optimus Prime is thwarted by some woman that talks like she's in a 1920s film noir flick, and that's a challenge for them, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. Megatron is a challenge for them, okay? Decepticons are a challenge for them. Humans with uninteresting superpowers, not. Nope. Nonetheless, Megatron's a cool toy. Let's transform him, because that's what you do with cool toys that transform. You've got the cockpit here that closes over there. And it makes the noise, but I'm not done. So, and that's another thing that, granted, you saw that also in the Energon line with a lot of the sound boxes. They started putting the transform noise in, and that's where that is one thing that I will say. Earlier, I said that in the Transformers universe line, they really didn't homage very much. But I will say that they figured out that the transform noise was important. They started putting that in a lot of sound boxes. So, and that was the beginning of realizing the value of the nostalgia. And so we're going to open up the door on his wrist and flip in the fist. And then we're going to close the arm against the shoulder like that. We're going to do the same thing here. And getting these doors open is sometimes a little tricky if you bite your fingernails, so don't bite your fingernails. It's a bad habit. I bite my fingernails all the time, so I guess I shouldn't say anything. I'm a hypocrite. So then we've got the legs, and the legs are funny. Okay, thank you. It made the transform noise again. So the outer shell of the leg comes out like that. And it comes out like that, and then you're going to spin it around like that, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. And then you have the landing gear, which can come out here like that, and then it goes out like that. And we're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to try and show this. So that goes like that, and then we're going to flip it like that. And now we're going to need to kind of pivot his knees, and there's clicker joints that are kind of tight, maybe just because I haven't played with this toy in a long time. But you're going to put the legs together like this, and then you're going to take the shell of the legs and you're going to close them around the hips like this, just like that. And now you can close the feet, and you can do that. And so, and it makes the noise again. So that's the moving bits around phase, and you've got a lot of robot face, but you've got this huge piece here that clicks over here, and it'll make the noise some more for you. It'll continue making the noise. Thank you for making the noise. And oh, and then you've got this little thing, so these go down, and so you've got some landing gear down here. Now here's the thing, if you don't have this piece here, yes, you've got a whole bunch of robot face, but they did actually include landing gear, so it can still be a functional vehicle even if you don't have this. Yes, there's a big robot head there, and there's not really a whole lot you can do about it, but I like that. You know, I appreciate that that the designers were willing to address that and make sure that if for some reason you didn't have that panel, it was still a functional vehicle mode. And then I've got the swords. He has swords, so you know, he has two-bladed swords there, just like that. And what you do is you fold in the handle, and then you take one of the blades and you go like that, and then that goes in here and just plugs on there, and that makes a rotor. And then we've got another one, and we're going to go like that, and that plugs in here. And this is where I was looking for some kind of a trigger or something to make these things spin, because you can see that there's actually like a linkage between the two halves, so that when you spin one, it spins the other. But there isn't any linkage there. You know, it's just a thing that does that. But it seems like it only allows you to really spin it halfway before it starts jamming up. I don't know if it's supposed to work that way, or if maybe it's just kind of old and the gears aren't working the way that they're supposed to. But nonetheless, that is animated Megatron in his vehicle mode, and he's got his cannon which rotates around, and he's got the big double rotor things. I mean, it's a cool looking thing. And you know, I don't often think of Megatron as a helicopter gunship, but I'm okay with this. Like, if he's gonna be a helicopter, this is the helicopter that he's gonna be. And I love the big cannon right under the nose, and that it can still rotate around. It's a good form, and it works really well. So yeah, that is animated Megatron. And then, of course, for the older fans, and see, this shows that Hasbro's attitude about Megatron had changed, because also in 2008 we got this. This is a love letter to Gen 1 fans. And yeah, it's ridiculous looking. It's a pistol. Look familiar? Yeah, it's they took the basic form of this Nerf gun and made Megatron transform into it. But it's the first Megatron as a handgun that they had done in essentially 20 years. You know, pretty close. And you know, you can actually kind of see through the barrel, and it's got crosshairs in there. You know, maybe you can see me. Maybe it can yeah, almost there I am. There I am. You can sort of nope. You can't. Okay, wait here. Yeah, can you see me wave? You can sort of see me wave. Yeah. There. So, So yeah, you've got your scope with your crosshairs, and it doesn't really work that well, but nonetheless, it's there, and you have these cool green parts, which are not really very Gen 1 Megatron-y, but it is a handgun, and it's got this kind of gray with purple and black and orange tips, because, you know, it's America, so it's orange tips. And then to transform him, we open up the side panels here, and we've got essentially all of his body parts are just kind of spread out. He essentially goes blah, and then has his wings close around him. But it's a very innovative blah, nonetheless. And so we've got we flip out his fists, and then we take that over there, and we can extend that arm, and we can take this arm out here, and we can open up the little door, and we can flip out his other fist. Maybe. Oh, I'm gonna pull my thumbnail off trying to do this. This is, oh gosh, it's bad. It's such a tight hinge. Come on, maybe I've got a little pokey thing here. Maybe nope, that pokey thing isn't good enough. Give me a pokey thing that's good enough. Here we go. Let's pokey thing. Don't let me down. Okay, wait here. I've got needle nose pliers. I've got needle nose pliers. There we go. We can get the and then we close that door, and we have his body that's just hanging out here, and what's going to happen is it's going to go here, and it's going to swing around like that, and then we close that shoulder against that like that. We're going to take the legs away from this whole wing assembly thing here. We're going to take the side thing, click it into there, and then we'll do that. We're going to open up the door on the chest and flip out the Megatron head. And then we're going to pivot around this little piece. It's going to swing up like this and plug into this little port in the back. And that's just going to click in there. And then we'll give him some wings. And then we will take the legs, go down like this, flip out the feet, flip out the heels, do the same thing there, and then we take the shin guards and slide them up to give him proper Megatron-y kneecaps. And this was part of the Classics line. The Classics line is what would eventually give rise to the Generations line, which is what now is, I would say, the main line of the Transformers. You know, you have your robots in disguise, Bumblebee adventures, Cyberverse kind of stuff, which is more kid-oriented, and then you have the Transformers Generations line, which all started with Transformers Classics. And this is a reimagined Megatron for adult collectors. I mean, yes, it's still kid-friendly, but this is what they were making to attract kids. But notice that what they were making to attract kids, they were saying, hey, as you get older, remember, this is what Megatron looks like. You know, we're not going to confuse things the way that we did before, and we're going to start keeping Megatron consistent. And then, of course, later we get, this is the hanky version, I think. And so we got this, which is in more Gen 1 Megatron colors, and it looks awesome. It looks great. We even got vacuum metallized parts on the chest, but that is Gen 1 Megatron. Hands down. We also got a little Gen 2 Megatron as a Scout class figure, just a little tiny Gen 2 Megatron. And this, I believe, was now this one was 2006, and we also got in 2006 Ultimate Battle Megatron, which is a reimagining of Gen 2 Megatron. And so at this point, Hasbro is starting to rein in all these other versions of Megatron and kind of drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, Megatron is this, or maybe he looks like this, but whatever it is, he's no longer going to look like... Wait a minute here. I don't know what I did with Double Dragon Megatron, because he's crazy. Well, he's no longer... there he is. Okay, but he's no longer going to look like this. And you will see that they will continue to do some a lot of... I'm going to say it, a lot of tanks. There are going to be a lot of tank Megatrons, and I feel like at this point, because the handgun is just not really socially appropriate in the toy aisle the way that it was in the 80s, then probably tanks are Megatron's go-to alt mode. And it doesn't mean we can't see other things, but I think that he's going to be mostly tanks from here on out. So, that's it. Took a while to get there. Took a while for Megatron, too. Pretty much from 2003? Or wait, when did you really from 1986? Honestly, if we're being honest, it's gonna be from 1986. Of course, I guess Gen 2 was, a little bit of a divergence, but yeah, from the 90s till 2008, Megatron could be anyone. He could even be you. But he wasn't, because that doesn't make sense. Thank you so much for joining me. That's a lot of Megatron toys, and there's actually still other stuff that I didn't go into. So, we are a small channel trying to get bigger. If you have not been able to, we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Click the notification bell so that you know when we're doing stuff like our Short Circuits videos, which normally we do throughout the week. We didn't do any this week. 4th of July weekend was busy, and this weekend is gonna be busy. So, for all those reasons, next weekend we are taking the week off. Although it's not really taking the week off, I have to travel for work. But the point is that I'm not going to be here to make videos, and so I'm not going to be here to make videos. So, week after that, we'll do something, and we'll post on social media. Of course, tell all your friends, tell all your family, tell people online who like toys to join us, and we'll toast them, and it'll be fun, and it'll be insightful, it'll be clever, mostly because of you guys. You guys bring the clever, and I bring secret words and drinks in tall glasses. And speaking of tall glasses, let's give a toast to all of you in the chat who have graciously spent your evening with me. I really appreciate it. Starting with you, Rob S. A toast to Rob S. And to Ty Guy. Always glad to see you, Mr. Ty Guy. And Setsune. Maybe you were able to get back with us, probably not, but maybe you'll join in later and watch the rest of this, in which case, a toast to Setsune. And a toast to Colleen. I love you, Colleen. Can't wait till the next time that we actually get to see you in human form. A toast to Asher and Michael Spicer. Keep it cool. I love your Trailbreaker, and I've got so much envy over your Monstructor. And the Machiavellic, thank you so much. I am always glad to see you. A big toast to Machiavellic. Osaka Jack, thank you for having mercy on me because I was already dooming myself with, you know, the secret word. So, a big toast to Osaka Jack. And by the power of Grayscale, Grayscale has the power! That was just fun to do. And a toast to Joy! A joy to the live stream when Joy is here! And a big toast to Dawn. Thank you, Dawn, for joining my live streams. Thank you for co-hosting when you do. And thank you for picking up toys for me and just being a friend for life. Big toast to Dawn. And of course, a big toast to Christopher Remley. Christopher, thank you so much. I'm always glad to see you here. Big toast. And last but not least, a big toast to Mason Fur. Thank you for joining us, Mason Fur. I hope that you had a good time, and I hope to see you again real soon. And so, that is it for me. I am so glad that you all joined us, and we won't see you next week. You know, if we get a chance, try and throw in some Short Circuits videos. Maybe? Although, you know, I'm kind of leaving soon. So, anyway, have a wonderful weekend. This is Clay telling you to keep it Retrobot! Yes! Retrobot, who's, where did he go? Is he tormenting the cats again? You know, ever since we had him watching Alf, he's been like, oh, I'm gonna go eat cats, even though I don't have a mouth, because that's what aliens do. Except he doesn't actually say it like that. He says it more like, beep, 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 screech, screech. But I know that's what he's saying, so. None of that makes any sense. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Have a great weekend.